Would you agree that there is something wrong with the U.S. economy? Would you agree that the disparity between the rich and the poor is at a breaking point? Would you agree that something needs to be done to change this situation? Would you agree if we continue to do what we have always done, we will continue to get what we have always gotten? We believe that the economic imbalance in our economy today is being caused by the old traditional business model of exclusion. This business model excludes labor from the capital investment side of the economic equation. The outcomes of this old traditional business model of exclusion have resulted in welfare rolls increasing, homelessness has become all too familiar, the working poor are living in their cars, families are living in silent desperation with a wage just above water. And many families are just one paycheck from financial disaster. Our senior citizens are struggling to make ends meet because of inadequate retirement funds. This is the American atrocity. To have worked for 40 to 45 years and reach age 65, then have to continue to work to survive, is not the American dream. The American dream has become the American nightmare. We believe we can do better than that. Unions' role in protecting the worker. Labor unions were formed in the late 1800s to protect the worker from economic injustice and to preserve the worker's rights. We are proud and grateful to where union labor has brought us. However, this union approach has done good for a very small sector of the labor force. For the major portion of the labor force, union representation is either non-existent or they just don't go far enough. To take the union's role a step further, we must propose that unions promote employee ownership to correct the economic imbalance in the marketplace and the disparity between the haves and the have-nots. Employee ownership allows the labor force to participate on the capital investment side of the economic equation. The idea is not new. For the last 65 years, we have done nothing to change the economic equation in America, and as Louis Kelso predicted, created a nation of indentured servants. An indentured servant is an employee within an economic system who was bound by an agreement to provide his labor in exchange for some defined benefit for a period of time. The sad news for the U.S. labor force in America is that we have went from slavery or free labor being outlawed in 1863 to indentured servitude being outlawed in 1948, to the minimum wage in the United States of being $7.25. Think about it. We are only $7.25 per hour away from slavery, which was outlawed over 158 years ago by President Lincoln when he signed the Emancipation Proclamation. What is causing the driver shortage? Baby boomers have reached their retirement age and are retiring faster than they can be replaced. The last economic crisis resulted in 1,200 training institutions closing their doors in California. The recent changes in the marijuana laws are also impacting this shortage. At the same time, the overall demand for freight deliveries and passenger transportation is increasing. Due to these conditions, employers are finding it very difficult to locate and hire qualified drivers promptly. A call to action. America is the richest and the most powerful nation on the face of the earth. If we are to continue to promote capitalism and bring economic justice to the marketplace, we must do something more than protest. This gap will not be closed by the old traditional business model of exclusion. This model continues to exclude labor from the capital investment side of the economic equation. This business model continues to widen the gap between the rich and the poor, as well as the have and the have-nots. We submit to you that the answer to this dilemma is a nationwide adoption of the 21st century business model of inclusion. This business model includes labor on the capital investment side of the economic equation by providing a pathway to employee ownership. Einstein said, "We cannot solve problems at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. Together, we must rise to a new level of thinking to solve this dilemma and bring economic justice to the marketplace." The solution. By the business owners restructuring their company to include the employees in the ownership of the business, the following results are achieved. 1. Labor now participates on the capital investment side of the economic equation. 2. This restructuring gives our labor force the opportunity to work for more than a paycheck. 3. Employee ownership gives our labor force the opportunity to participate in the financial future of the company. 4. Employee ownership changes the way wealth is distributed. 5. This restructure gives labor the chance to experience the pride of ownership. 6. Employee ownership builds trust and a sense of belonging into the company culture. 7. It is important to note that the profits also remain in the community in which the employees live and raise their families, making for a stronger local economy. 8. The company no longer defines itself by the assets and liabilities that appear on the balance sheet, but by the capacity to care for the employee, their families, and the community for which they live. How we did it. The first step was to hire an independent business appraiser to determine the value of the company. Once the value of the company is determined, we made the decision to sell. In December of 2009, Michael's Transportation Service, Inc. restructured the company to include the employees in the ownership of the company. 99% of the company's share value was sold to the employees and transferred to a trust for the benefit of the employees in exchange for a 10-year promissory note in favor of the business owner. This transaction reflects the best interest of both the owner and the employees, a win-win solution. Going forward, the note will be paid with the future profits of the company. This deferred payment option is the path the business owner provides to their employees as a means to make the payments on the 10-year promissory note created at the time of the sale. Benefits to the employer. 1. The business owner will receive full value for his business that was determined by the original appraisal. 2. Going forward, the owner continues to participate in the future growth of the company as a salaried employee. By applying this strategy, there is no loss of decision-making, power, and no loss of control of the company for the owner. 3. The owner has a fiduciary responsibility to the employees. The plan is governed by the Department of Labor. 4. The business owner is responsible to administer the guidelines of the plan on behalf of its employees. The owner's role is critical. His or her continued involvement assures the payoff of the 10-year promissory note that was created at the time of the sale. 5. The business owner transforms employees into shareholders with a vested interest in the future success of the organization. This transaction boosts employee morale and the quality of work done by its workforce. Employee benefits. 1. The plan rewards the people that are responsible for the success of the organization. 2. The plan requires no out-of-pocket contribution to the plan from the employees. 3. The distribution of shares applied to the employee's account each year is based on his or her annual salary. 4. The plan allows the employee's accounts to accumulate tax-free. In other words, the equity building in the employee share accounts is not subject to payroll taxes required for earned income. 5. The plan creates a family culture of financial security and trust among the employee. 6. The business owner transforms employees into shareholders with a vested interest in the future success of the organization. 7. The plan also promotes unity and cooperation and teamwork in the daily operations of the business. 8. Employee ownership improves the quality of life for the employees. Their share accounts, in many cases, is the largest asset the family possesses. 9. For some of our employees, this asset helps families to qualify for home ownership. And 10. Employee is paid twice, once for his or her labor, and again from the profits of the company. This is the union message. This message would resonate in the private sector, of which unions have very little presence, only 6.7% and declining. The employee ownership message would give unions a broader appeal in the private sector of the marketplace. This outreach effort would give more of the American labor force the opportunity to participate as shareholders in a thriving enterprise all across America. By unions promoting employee ownership in the private sector, the unions would be able to reach the untapped 93% of the nation's untapped labor force. This strategy could stop the declining membership by appealing to this untapped segment of the marketplace. The message of employee ownership will also have a positive impact on public opinion in the privatized public sector, in which 89% of labor goes untapped. The employee ownership message is the key to increase organized recruitment efforts in both public and private sectors. In conclusion, by unions and government officials promoting employee ownership to the untapped private and public sectors, we began to redefine the union's role in the world of business and capture a greater market share in both the public and private sectors. The new union role in the marketplace. The new role of the unions would be to challenge every qualified business owner in the public and private sector of business to explore the idea of becoming an employee-owned company. By embracing this restructuring approach, unions could shift their focus to becoming a resource provider to both public and private sectors. Unions already provide excellent training programs in all the trades. This expertise can expand to provide resources, training, and highly skilled labor to many industries. Union dues. The union dues would be part of the initial sale of the business to the employees. This amount would be determined by the number of employees benefiting from the restructuring of the business to include the employees in the ownership of the business. This compensation for dues would come in the form of a percent of the sale. Union dues would continue for the term of the contract or the 10-year promissory note. This strategy would eliminate the impact the Janus Law has had on union dues and membership. With the political savvy unions already possess with legislators, we could start to advocate for employee ownership as opposed to fighting against them. The new labor force. The best labor force to compete in the marketplace is one that has a vested interest in the future profitability of the company. Union would be supporting a plan that provides tax relief to American corporations. The federal government recognizes employee ownership and provides a 100% federal tax relief benefit for employee-owned corporations domiciled in the United States. Many business owners are not aware of this fact. The corporate tax rate in the United States is one of the highest rates in the world. This tax burden is the cause of many U.S. businesses leaving the country. This knowledge could be a good reason for many American corporations to return to the United States. These ideas are key to giving the business owners the competitive advantage in their industry. A union-sponsored campaign would also gain the support of our elected officials in both parties. Mike Thompson, our congressman, Senator Jim Nielsen, Art Pileski, State Secretary of the Federation of Labor, is a supporter of employee ownership. There are only 7,000 employee-owned companies in the U.S. There should be 7 million. The union's role today. Fact: the local union was not able to provide the needed drivers for their unionized company. Fact: the unionized company reaches out to Michael's Transportation that could provide the much-needed drivers under a driver staffing agreement, giving the unionized company time to train their own drivers and fill their driver shortage. Commercial drivers are in high demand nationwide. Unions on a local and national level often cannot meet these driver demands. Fact: Michael's Transportation was able to provide the much-needed driver relief. This resulted in eliminating the service violations and stopping the liquidating damages being charged by the city. Fact: in response to our solving the driver shortage issue, the union sent a cease and desist order to the unionized company stating violations against their collective bargaining agreement. This adversarial position forced the unionized company to dissolve its partnership with MTS. We were no longer allowed to provide the unionized company with temporary driver staffing of commercial drivers. Fact: this adversarial act by the union resulted in placing the unionized company back into the violation status of their contract with the city, and the fines and liquidated damages were reinstated. What is the ask? This is what we can change by working together. By the union supporting employee ownership, that support would be extended to include an additional 7,000 employee-owned companies already existing in various industries in the United States. Together, we would join forces in an employee ownership revolution by 1. Recommending employee ownership to your current constituents. 2. Reach out to other business owners with the 21st century message of employee ownership.